Pawnshop workers of Reddit. What is the dumbest thing a customer has brought in thinking they were gonna strike us rich? I'm a pawnbroker. Somebody brought in their dead grandmother's gold tooth, plucked from her ashes, with the tooth still in it. We told her that the tooth had to be separated from the gold for us to weigh it. They desecrated their loved one's remains for less than $2. A kid from my school had a letter signed by Abraham Lincoln. He brought it to show and tell one day, and we were all super impressed. In grade 12, he stole it from his dad and went to pawn it. He bragged about how he was going to be rich. It turns out his grandfather forged the letter and gave it to his dad as a gift. A friend's uncle allowed us to shadow him for a day at his pawn shop. A guy walked in with a metal lockbox and said he had something worth billions. He opened the lockbox and there were wood chips in it and the smell of spray paint. He claimed they were leftovers of the cross Jesus was crucified on. He is descended from an ancient and noble line of knights who took oaths to protect the cross. He wanted $2,000 for the lockbox and wood chips. That's not a story so much as the opening of a Monty Python sketch. A thief stole our heavy-duty snowblower out of the garage in early July during a heat wave and took it to a local pawn shop, hoping to fetch a big price for it. After the police called to say they had located it, the pawn shop owner said the guy just couldn't understand why there wouldn't be a hot market for an expensive snowblower year-round. Watching Antiques Roadshow a couple of years back, a woman came in to get her old lamp appraised. The show's appraiser took the lamp, said something along the lines of "Wow, priceless Ming vase." He then proceeded to remove the whole lamp section from the base, threw it away and said unfortunately somebody decided to make it a lamp and drilled a hole in the bottom, rendering the priceless Ming vase worthless. I've never seen anybody go from okay to just hit the lottery to somebody just flushed my lottery ticket down the toilet in such a short space of time. That lamp still sold for 500 kBTW, less than the 4M it would have been worth without being drilled, but not worthless. Had a guy try selling me a gun. Before I could even nope him out of there. Shop is in NJ. We do not buy guns. He began to point the gun around with people all over the store, pulling the trigger. That guy was a special kind of guy. Fortunately the gun wasn't loaded, but still. I worked in a pawn shop for around 7 years or so. We had people trying to pawn fake jewelry all the time. The best part was when they didn't know it was fake. So many women left yelling about that cheap son of a b. I can't even remember half the stupid crap we turned away. There was one thing that we didn't turn away and we should have though. And I love this story. One of the other employees took in what he described as a 24k gold baby bracelet. It was a dong ring. A golden dong ring. This employee was a bit of a know-it-all, and he liked to rub other people's mistakes in their faces. He eventually went on to become manager, and then district manager, and you can bet your ass I made sure that every employee under him knew about the baby bracelet. He never lived that down. Not a pawn shop, but GameStop. Dude rolled in with hundreds of bootleg games and a bunch of modded consoles. He couldn't fathom why I wouldn't take them. I used to work at one, and back when they took DVDs that was a constant issue. People trying to sell us DVDs they burned off their computer and getting mad we wouldn't take them. A penny that was dated 2009. I worked in a jewelry store during the peak of the everybody buys gold and diamonds phase. A group of kids comes in with a ring they found in the parking lot. It's an obvious CZ, which I tell the ringleader as soon as he hands it to me. One of the others demands, a touch annoyed, "How do you know?" In one of those excellent two rare moments of perfect reaction I asked, "Why'd you bring it to me?" "Because you're jeweler." "Oh." I took an old $10 bill into a dealer to see how much it was worth. Don't recall the year, but it was old. Guy says $10. I worked at a pawn shop for about 6 years. I once had a customer walk up to the counter and slide a gold coin to me and say, "I think this is gold." Man, this particular customer reeked of bile and looked like he was high on everything possible. I looked at the coin and slid it back to him and replied, "I think it's a Chuck E. Cheese token. I can tell by the mouse on it." He just said, "Oh," and walked away. That was when I noticed he had crap his pants to the point it was almost all the way down his pant leg. There was a buy and sell by my house that would give you $5 for any game and sell every game for 10. I used to go in and check prices on all games, and if I would make more than 10 from GameStop I would buy the game, go to GameStop and sell it, and then buy all the crappy games GameStop had that were less than $5 and take it back to the buy and sell to make more money. Worked at a traditional games store. Had plenty of sketchy white trash people coming in with their kids' old Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic cards thinking they're extremely valuable. Usually it was just a mismatched starter set from the early 2000s, or the like. I'm not sure what started the idea that old trading cards were going to be ridiculously valuable, but no, I won't give you money for your dark magician. The level of disappointment, and oftentimes outright anger on their part, was difficult to deal with. I began just telling trashy looking people, who weren't store regulars, that we didn't purchase cards. As a worker in the ghetto I get grills and gold teeth almost daily, straight from the mouth, and then they get mad when I can't accept it and throw a fit. Every employee wears panic buttons to call the cops immediately if something happens as well. A good friend of mine owns a pawn shop in Florida. He once bought a collectible book of state quarters for less than face value of the coins. The customer wasn't bright enough to pop the quarters out of the book and spend them. My buddy's ability to keep a straight face in those situations and make the customer feel like he's getting a deal provides me endless entertainment. A month ago, man stole a lawnmower from the front of our store. Well, just 2 days ago, he returned to the shop with the exact same lawnmower, claiming it was his. He tried to sell it to us. Not only did the serial number on that mower match the one we had, but it still had our price tag on the handle. Worked at a comic book and memorabilia store, and people have really messed up notions of value. Just because it is old doesn't mean it is valuable. Just because it is rare doesn't mean there is a market for it. The worst was when people would come in with things that were signed with no authentication and demand outrageous prices. Some old lady and her obviously tweaker granddaughter brought in a comic they claimed was signed by Stan Lee and wanted $1,000 for it. We laughed them out of the shop. Also, a picture of you with William Shatner that he signed has no value to anyone but you. I used to work in a pawn shop in Los Angeles. One time this guy brought in $100 two bills, non-consecutive, and wanted a loan of $120. My boss told me to do the loan, so I followed instruction and gave the guy $120. The guy then managed to not come back for the bills, so we made an $80 profit from sheer stupidity. Babbage's aka GameStop, worker in the early 2000s. This was a case of the company being dumb. GameStop either owned or acquired Funkoland and a couple other game store brands at the time, Babbage's being among them. We had a local guy that would drive about an hour each way and buy out every single copy of certain NES games and then bring them to our store. He would do the same in reverse as well. The company would then dutifully redistribute the games to equalize inventory between the stores. All told, he made close to $50K before they figured it out and disallowed transactions of 10 games or more in one visit. Last I heard, this same guy was churning on gift cards, credit cards, etc. to the tune of $60, $70K a year. Dude knows how to hustle. I don't work at a pawn shop, but my friend does. People bring in dumb crap all the time to get a few dollars for dope. It starts from a candies box stolen from a shop next to the pawn shop to plungers, rubber ducks, electronics, real and fake jewelry they thought was real, and ending on cars. Kind of the opposite, but in the mid-80s I worked for a guy that ran food trailers that went to different festivals, etc. It was a blast of a summer job. But anyway, kids would dig around the house to find money to blow at the arcades, and for food, rides, etc. Many of these kids would get into the coin collection, seeing a 10 or 20, but not realizing they were silver certificates, silver quarters daily, Indian head pennies, even had a guy pay for his drink with a roll of Buffalo Nicholas. Musical instruments. Sorry, your student flute from 1970 is tarnished and dented. Not to mention that the cost of replacing the pads and corks will be more than buying a brand new student flute. Keep it for the memories. They are worth more than your crappy flute. 10 years EXP and running a pawn shop. Fake Rolex watches, family heirlooms, Parking lot buys that turned out to be fake were the normal. Weirdest thing I've loaned on would be dentures. I'd give the guy 10-20. I was asked why I took them and my response was always the same. If that sucker wants to eat solid food again he'll come get them. He always came and redeemed them. I manage a pawn shop trading post in New Jersey and could tell you hundreds of stories related to this, but the dumbest thing I've had someone bring in was a used lifelike S doll. It was something that you pay somewhere around $3,000 to $5,000 for. He was just completely flabbergasted that we would not buy it. Used book dealer here. I had a couple tell me they were bringing in a book they saved for their retirement in a safety deposit box, a signed first edition of Twain's Huck Finn. Sadly they had a modern Reader's Digest copy with a monograph signature. Someone else offered me their Shakespeare's First Folio, printed in 1946. One time this guy brought in a chair he said Lincoln sat in. I called my Lincoln chair guy and he said it was fake. Big purple glass dong. The guy said it was an antique. It was my great grandmother's. Not a pawn shop worker, but I was in one with a friend of mine when a man who looked to have enjoyed more than just a few crack rocks in his day came inside with a sink. A sink that he apparently just ripped out of a hotel or kitchen of an abandoned house or something, and I do mean ripped out. No idea what he thought he would get for it, but the guy behind the counter told him in no uncertain terms that he needed to leave and take his sink with him. It was goddamn hilarious. I literally just had a lady walk out on me angry that I couldn't offer any money on her small wooden spice rack. It even had half empty spices still on it. A few months ago an old man came in with a trash bag full of used bongs, complete with weed and dripping with bong water. Said he's selling all his son's stuff. He was such a sweet old dude I felt bad and told him to break it all up in the dumpster outside and not ride around with it. I get a ton of old coins that people bring in thinking they're worth a bunch of money and I usually have even older stuff in my change drawer that I can show them. Most people laugh about it. Also, I have seen quite a few gently used toy dongs in my time as well. My mom owned the pawn shop in town and she was a huge New Kids in the Block fan. Unfortunately eBay decimated our business and she couldn't afford to see their reunion concert, but her best friend from grade school could. She came in the next morning, wielding what she claimed was a condom full of Joey McIntyre's CM. You could be the mom of a new kid. She wanted $1,000 for the stuff but my mom told her friend to stick it up her vajayjay. I'd like to buy it if she still has it. A live grenade. Unfortunately I wasn't on shift at the time. Worked at an auction house rather than a pawn shop but it's the same principle. I once had to deal with a woman who brought in a badly damaged, chipped, dog child chewed, simple, pine bookcase. She informed me that she had paid $200 for the bookcase 10 years ago and that due to its appreciating value she expected to receive at least $1,000 for it now. She was very put out when I suggested the most she was going to get was $20 and only if someone wanted it for their shed. I went to college in a farm town in northern Colorado. I had a red leather jacket that I bought in high school that I wanted to sell in one of the pawn shops out there. I never wore it and would rather have cash than the jacket. They refused to buy it because it was red and that color was somehow gang related. I had no idea that farm town had any gang problems, but whatever. My fiance works at a small-time retro gaming store and tells me stories all the time about getting people in and wanting to sell their copies of Madden 2006 for $30 because they saw it on eBay for that much. Probably once or twice a week she'll get a really cool item, but mostly it's trash that people dump off for their drug habit. When I worked at Guitar Center we would have people come in to sell us used gear all the time, which was cool. Usually they didn't expect too much for it, unless it was actually something good or rare or vintage. But people would hear that vintage guitars are worth good money and think I bet that Squire I got in 1997 that is all crusty and old is worth something and get mad when we would offer them $35 for it and sell it for $70 because it was gross and somebody could buy a brand new one for $100 or $120 depending on if there was a sale on. My favorite was the one guy who came in with two garbage guitars. I think one of them might have been a bass, that were missing strings and nuts and knobs. They weren't worth much even in good condition, but in the shape that they were in, It would cost more to get our in-house technician to repair them than he would get for them. Because we weren't in the business of buying broken instruments, we told him that if he wanted to sell them to us, he would have to have them repaired first. And I was completely upfront with him that the cost of the repairs would be more than we would pay him for the guitars. He decided to do it anyway, and gave me a big stink about how he drove a half hour to come here to do this and took an hour and a half out of his day and how he felt like he should be compensated. When I called him the next day to tell him that the repairs were done and that we would be able to get him his money for the sale, he yelled at me over the phone for interrupting his golf game. Frick this guy. I'm not a pawn shop owner, but when I was 10 or 11 I caught a black widow spider and excitedly brought it to the pawn shop in town inside a Mountain Dew bottle, ready to claim my bounty. They weren't interested. Pet shop wouldn't take it either. I made a cardboard sign and stood on the side of the road, but I never found a buyer. I work at a used bookstore and had a customer come in with very good condition DVDs, books, and CDs. Our old way of buying things used to be that we would judge every single object that came in based on condition and determine the price from there, usually around $1 if the book was in good condition. However, we now had a scanning system where we would scan a barcode and a price would be generated based on prices of it online, regardless of condition. Back to the customer. She's a scrawny old lady and looks pretty much like your stereotypical witch, but with a tank top and shorts. She comes into our store often and usually sells a few cartfuls of books and DVDs. With our old buyback system, her total would usually come out to around $70, a higher amount than most buybacks, and would sometimes throw a small fit if she didn't get enough. Now she comes in after we implement our new buyback system. She sells the usual cartfuls of books and DVDs in really good condition, but now her total came to around $17, and she flipped her crap. She asked, why do you have to use this piece of BS buyback system? Started calling us random slurs and insults. She also knocks her books down and calls us racist just because I'm white. You gotta be racist against me, why do I have this treatment? She demanded to talk to the manager, and he came. He told her that's just how it is now. You don't have to sell to us if you're not satisfied. He mentioned that the company had to change the system because we weren't buying books and stuff at an accurate price. Lady didn't want to take it and tried to shame us by telling everyone around her and the mall that we were racist against her and that she'll call the cops. She called the cops on us, but when they came, she instead got arrested for public disturbance and was subsequently banned from our store for some time. I worked at a GameStop in college and someone asked if we traded for cash. I told him yes, and he brought out a calculator, a NES light gun without a cable, and a rock and asked what he could get for them. Tweakers, man. You found my secret gold stash comment, gold for me, and you can have some, maybe. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.